Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Mr. Rob. I'm your host, BMR, and of course, I'm joined by my co-host, the lovely Krista Tweedy. You can find Krista, Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast, by the way. Go check her out, along with the lovely Brandy. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit the alert bell and share us out. We have a great show. Dr. Bob McGwier, Science Bob, as a lot of you may know him, and LaLa Bright. We've got a great show in store for you. You can find us on YouTube at Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and, of course, Texas Front Porch. We're also on iHeartRadio, Spreaker Radio, and wherever podcasts are found. Also, KPNL Radio with the lovely Ann Celine out in Oregon. Thank you, Ann, for that. Find us on Facebook. You can find us at beyondbmr.com. If you have any encounter stories you'd like to share with me, please send them on in. I'd appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe. Once again, Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot, Mr. Rob, YouTube. If you like our content, you would like to support us, the Super Chat. Yes, the Super Chat is open. Donate if you can. Long after the show ends, the Super Thanks is also open for people listening later. We do appreciate that. Check out our About pages on our channels across the board. That is mostly appreciated by each and every single one of you. Thanks for joining us today and going over, our lineup. We have fabulous shows across the board. We're on 6 days a week, you guys, 6 days a week. Mondays is Texas Front Porch at 7:30 in the East. Tuesdays, Van Buren Variety. That comes on at 8 o'clock in the East. Beyond BMR, Tuesdays, 9 in the East. Jason McLean does something called Mysterious Library at Untold Radio AM, 10 o'clock in the East as well on Tuesday. You can find it over there. Wednesdays, we're right back with Jason McLean Questions Everything. Jason comes on at 9 in the East. We talked about vampires last night. It was pretty interesting. Go check that out. Thursdays, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. Tonight, 9 o'clock in the East, the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast, 9 in the East. And if you need some woo with the booze, well, they come back on Fridays at 9 in the East. Join Krista and Brandy on that one. Something new, text. Infamous Minds is true crime. It's on Saturdays. It's at 9 in the East. That's a new show. Please check him out along with the lovely Danielle Diva. Danielle has now joined our group, so you can see her along with text on Saturdays. And speaking of Saturdays, Jessica Jones, Saturday and Sunday, 10 in the East, Spaced Out Radio. Right after that, Danielle Diva, 11 in the East, Spaced Out Radio. Speaking of Spaced Out Radio, 1 month, second annual Dave Scott Spaced Out Radio Fan Party takes place in Las Vegas, Nevada. The Golden Nugget Hotel. You can check out the Bigfoot Michigan Rob YouTube page for details or go to spacedoutradio.com to provide additional information. And go check out Dave, subscribe to him as well on Spaced Out Radios. I'm going to bring up Krista. And Krista, how are you doing today, my lovely friend?
I am doing wonderful. It's a good day. It's Thursday. It's almost Friday, right?
It's almost Friday. It's actually Friday for me. Thank you very much for that. And you've been going through some tornadic activity. Yep. That's always scary, Krista. You're right in that belt. You've got something coming in.
We got more coming in this afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. So.
Wow, 3 to 6 p.m. Yeah, it's another couple hours. Over here it's 78 degrees, but it's dropping down to about 42 by 6 o'clock. So I suspect we'll be getting some weather. So
it's not going to be that cold here.
Yeah, so thanks to everybody in chat coming on for this. Thanks for everybody listening. Thanks for everybody that's listening later. We got a fantastic show. Mm-hmm. And it's I'm going to bring them up in a minute. It's Bob McGwier and LaLa Bright. Couple friends of mine I met a couple of years ago via Spaced Out Radio. Very knowledgeable people. You're going to find today's show is going to be very interesting. We're going to delve into some paranormal and some UFO topics. And I'm not going to give their bios. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them up briefly for our audience. And I'm making sure they're ready to go. Bob looks good. Bob was in makeup earlier. He was telling me, LaLa's looking fantastic herself. Here they are. Welcome, LaLa. Welcome, Bob, to the show.
We're happy to be here.
No,
great to be with you, and we've taken too long to get on your show, buddy.
But that's okay. We're so busy. There's so many different guests. I've done on this show alone. I started this a couple years ago, about 225 interviews on this show alone, and
Mhm.
and there's a lot of great guests. You two are also a part of that now, and I do appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule to join me and Krista, and for all the listening audience out there, it is mostly appreciated. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
we're going to move forward a little bit. For people that don't really know about Bob or LaLa, I'd like each of you briefly, go over a little bit what you're all about. You guys start with either one. Ladies first. LaLa, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank
Good
you.
to see you. For those that don't know about you, LaLa, why don't you give us a little brief intro about yourself?
Okay. I was born kind of sensing and talking to spirits and other beings. I didn't find out they were other beings until later on in life, but I knew they felt different, like aliens and other things. My dad was like me. He did Reiki. He kind of tried to teach me the ways. I didn't really pay attention too much. I was trying to please my mom, and she had a master's in psychology, so she wanted me to be normal. So a couple of years ago, I lost my parents and boyfriend, and I decided the pain I felt I didn't want others to feel. So I decided to stop hiding what I do and help people, and that's how I found Bob. Because I'm super shy and I have anxiety, so the spirits, they help me online. They guide me to find people. I don't know who they are. I didn't know who he was, but his family guided me to him. And it usually goes like, I don't mean to sound weird, but I have a message for you, and I don't want anything. So, and most people were pretty perceptive to it. It was nice.
Mhm.
But then we got into recording crafts and other beings, and every night we have something. It's really amazing.
No,
Wow.
it is amazing. I've been following you for a little while, and I appreciate your work. And Bob, I appreciate your work as well. For people that do not know you, Bob, if you want to give us a little brief intro on yourself, and then we can get the ball rolling here.
Sure. I was born in Tennessee, raised mostly in Alabama. I had NDEs of cardiac arrest type before I remember them because I was 1 year old and had encephalitis. And the doctors told my mother I'd be a vegetable. At 3 years old, after complete recovery, I walked out of my bedroom where my mother and her friend were, and I picked up a book off the bookshelf and showed them that miraculously, bing, 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 overnight, I had learned how to read.
Wow.
So at 10 years old, my brain really took off. I became an amateur radio operator. I built a telescope. I did help my neighbor build the largest fossil collection in Alabama, and I memorized Gray's Anatomy from cover to cover. And so my parents and grandparents, et cetera, thought, well, if you know all of Gray's Anatomy and you built all these models of the human body, then you ought to be a doctor. So I went through high school thinking I was going to go to college to be a doctor. I went off to college with my girlfriend, who both of us went to the same high school. We went to the same college. And I picked her up on a Friday to drive her home, and we had an hour and a half of missing time. And she remembers it just like I remember it. We wound up in the middle of nowhere, no idea how we got there. And we quickly just said we got lost, and here we made it home. So 2 weeks later, I was not going to be a doctor. I changed colleges. I went over to a different place that was a Polytechnic Institute and got a degree in applied mathematics and engineering. And that's been my entire life since. So whatever happened in that 90 minutes, I changed everything about what I wanted to do. And it is what made me what I am today. So that went on for years. I worked at Sandia National Labs, got a PhD in applied mathematics from Brown University, majoring in computer science and quantum physics. And then I worked a long career, left in the United States intelligence, serving the United States intelligence community. I left that after 27 years, joined the faculty at Virginia Tech, where I became chief scientist of the Hume Center for National Security and Technology, which is training young minds in engineering and science to go do work for the intelligence community and the Pentagon. Okay, so toward the end of the 2018, I began hearing and frankly seeing stuff inside the community that let me know the government was seeing a lot of UFOs. and to other things, and was trying to figure out what the heck they were. And I could see this buildup. So I began watching YouTube videos on UFOs so I could catch up, because my curiosity was piqued. And I had some memories of seeing stuff when I was young. So I went to see Chris Bledsoe. After I asked him, he let me come. He told me his entire life story over 3 days. And on the fourth day, we went out observing on our first clear night. And I saw 2 40-foot orbs fly right over our head. Pop, 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 flash bulbs in the sky. And the ending of the evening was a purple aura mist, which was right above the trees. It wasn't a mist, but it looked like the surface of a pond, but it was purple and just barely could see it. It was very faint. And suddenly it disappeared, and Bledsoe said, okay, we can go in, they're gone. And it was telepathic because he was not looking up. So we went inside, finished our visit. I went home. I had a hitchhiker follow me home. That's where something of the phenomenon follows you home. And it messed with me for 2 weeks. It had apports of water squirt in my face, and a dry 2 weeks with a perfectly new roof. So it was pretty weird. So I called up Chris and told him I would help him. And I helped him write his first major public talk about his experiences and PowerPoint slides with fancy graphics and all sorts of processing at UFOCon 2020. And all the weird stuff ceased for a little bit. But 2 weeks later, the person I went to visit Chris with was healed from all signs of a stroke that had left her with right side weakness. It healed it completely. And 6 months later, she went to the neurosurgeon, and he told her, I'm going to release you because I can't even find the lesion. So, but I began to see orbs, craft, small ones, had big white orbs sitting in the middle of my living room. I began to see stuff. So whatever had happened at Chris's, I took away the phenomenon with me. So in April of last year, my mother began to fail and eventually died. She reached out to me, as she told you, said she would give me a reading. I went to visit my mother. She rallied once and talked to our dead relatives, and then failed and passed away. So we had the funeral. I went home and says, look, I'd like to do this reading because my curiosity is piqued about things I've seen. So she started the reading, and she quickly told me many things that only my mother and I knew. I don't think anyone else ever knew them. And she did. So I thought to myself, it might be ESP. If it wasn't, she wasn't talking to my mother. So it was like both of them, she and my mother, were reading my mind, because she immediately told me several things that my mother knew and neither I nor my siblings knew. But before the 5 of us could go and find friends and relatives and confirm that what I was told was true. So I really got interested. But before the reading ended, a little lady walked up and she says, there's this little 5'2" lady with brownish hair with red highlights, and she's yappity yapping at me, and she says her southern accent is so thick I can't understand her, but I keep hearing this word. And I said, what it is? She said, Tweety. And I knew immediately who it was. When I was 1, my grandmother would keep me. She would call me Sweetie, and I couldn't say it, so I called her Tweety, and that became her name amongst all the grandkids because I was the first grandkid. So by then, I was completely convinced that all this was real, and we began interacting and talking about her many different contact modalities and things she's seen and things she's thought were dreams that I was pretty sure weren't dreams. And I would say, well, if your dream is of this is like an alien abduction encounter where the thing you saw was a reptilian, and other things are going on with you that I'll let her relate or you can ask about. But anyway, so relationship, developed a business, and finally decided we were going to start a relationship, and now we're living together.
Well, Bob, there's so much to unpack in that, and I resonate with a lot of things you said. I'll get into that maybe a little later. But the first thing that struck me when you first started off speaking was, I've talked to a lot of people since I've been doing this, and every time we talk about missing time, lost time, 15 minutes, half hour, 2 hours, it always comes back to a possible alien abduction. Do you think when you had that missing time that you can associate with that? Do you think that perhaps this happened to you?
I think it has, and I've had quantum hypnotic regression, but not a traditional hypnotic regression. So I haven't been taken in time to those points in time and asked what happened. I think I would like to, but I don't know yet. But I think that's what happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because you hear these stories so many times about this having time loss. My buddy Tex time loss. Jessica Jones did a deep dive into that with her remote viewing and suggested that. And we just hear this so many times and so many times over and over again. It's very intriguing and it's quite frankly fascinating. And I really enjoy the story, how you two really pulled together, LaLa doing the readings and such. And LaLa, can you get into just a little bit about what it's like? Because what really fascinates me is about the speak with not only speaking with aliens, LaLa, we'll get into a little later, but speaking with the dead. I mean, I can't fathom what that's all about. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that? Because for me, I'm like blown away by it. I really am.
It is like talking on the phone to a friend. I hear them and I feel their love, their passions, their sadness. They're very good at being emotional, but it helps me relay messages better. And so they show me, I prefer when they show me pictures like a family photo book to get a story of what I need to tell somebody rather than them talking or showing up. That kind of freaks me out still.
Mhm.
But sometimes they do if they have to, but it's mainly photos and occasionally I'll hear names and things like that. Anything that's good validation to help the person realize that I'm real, I'm trying to help with something,
Mhm.
or give a message. A lot of times it's a, I'm sorry, they want them to know they're sorry. That's a big thing. Or that they don't need to be sad anymore, they're okay. That's a major thing. Sometimes I've helped with um, criminal cases, a few of those, and those are always hard. A lot of times it's children, and a
Mhm.
lot of times it's family members that had done something, or friends of the family. So, but it's easy to pick up on them, and it's funny because how I do it is I read eyes from a photo, and or in person if I have to. I prefer the photo. And one side shows someone's true self they have inside, and the other side is what they project to the world. It's everyone has it. And it starts with I read them and some health stuff if they need to know, and then their loved ones come, and then other beings come. So if they were abducted, I can see what happened to them and where they were implanted or worked on. And it's mainly, so far, it's mainly validation to that person that it did happen. They're remembering correctly. So, and it's harder to speak with aliens and other beings because they're very professional and not emotional. So it's harder for me to pick up everything.
Right.
Sense.
Yeah, and for you, LaLa, did this start earlier in life? And as you went through this and discovered these gifts, really, I call them gifts. That's probably I had an impact, a pronounced impact on your life, right?
But yeah, very much. When I was younger, they would talk. I would hear them more, and that scared me a lot. And so I ran from it most of the time. Um, and so they worked with me to figure out a plan that would make me not run. Um, but it was always very lonely for me because if I talked about it, I'd get made fun of or bullied or said I was crazy. And so part of me believed it. And so it was hard. But as I get older, it's not that I care less, but I don't I don't care about impressing people or if they like it or not. It is what it is. There's a big hidden world that we're all involved with, whether we like it or not.
Yep. Absolutely.
May I tell you about our first incident in the house together?
You know, Bob.
It was a big deal. Okay,
Yeah.
so we began hearing poltergeist activity inside the house, and I expected it because by then I knew her well. Okay, so I did the talk to her about her experiences. Hey, Dave, and I'm glad you're here, buddy. And we decided with all this poltergeist and other activity in the house that we would put up cameras, these security cameras inside the house. So we put one at several different places, and the one facing the front door was in night mode. So it was infrared was on, and it was night mode. So the thing it was sending was black and white. All of a sudden it went to color mode because something had walked down the hall and turned on the light. We were asleep, so it wasn't us. And that's enough to go, what the heck? But then something moved in front of the camera. We couldn't quite make it out. But what happened next, we could make out. These security cameras have microphones on them. And as clear as anything you ever heard in your life, it said, well, hello, Xander. And I'll let her tell who that is and what it was.
Xander is my son. And the voice was my boyfriend who had passed 2 years ago from cancer. And he would say it funny, like he liked to say it like a radio person. For some reason, he thought that was funny. And it was him. He followed us to where we are now. And it's nice.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, Krista, I know you're full of questions here. This is fantastic. You're ready to start the
Yeah,
show.
my mind is spinning. They're just so well, the knowledge and the education and LaLa, you had support growing up with it too, with abilities and stuff too, and a lot of people don't have that.
Right.
So do you think that that's helped you today or?
Definitely. I think my dad, he was like my best friend more so than a parental figure. And I think he was put here to be kind of like a spirit guide teacher almost. He still is now that he's passed. He's helped a lot with many different things. But I think he was put here for a reason. I do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
One of the things that I learned about him from her, asking her 1,000 questions, is that he was heavily involved here in Maryland with the Susquehanna Native Americans, to the point where them having seen his abilities, they basically made him a part of the tribe. They would take him into sweat lodge ceremonies and things that, white people never see, only the Native Americans see. And it was pretty clear they were treating him like he was their shaman.
Wow. That's amazing. I just, you said something about, like your dad possibly being, like your spirit guide and stuff. And I fully believe that because I feel, I was very close to my grandmother. And when she died 10 years ago, I learned a lot about her, about metaphysics and things like that I had no idea that she was into, so I feel her around me all the time. I know she helps guide me, in my decisions and where I am today. So I totally agree with you with your dad, helping to guide you still today.
Thank you.
I just think it's a fantastic story how you both were pulled together. You found each other through the reading through the mother. And I know, Bob, it has to be an emotional time for you, especially when LaLa had mentioned mentioning things to you that only you and you alone knew about, right? That's got to be really something for me, it would be hard to process. What were you going through at that time, Bob?
Well, I was grieving my mother. My marriage was falling apart. So it was a lot of stuff. And she was a godsend to me. And it gave me something to do. I had been in hiding for 2 years because of COVID. And we had something to do. So we started all this activity together. So we got together, moved into the house. And I began spending lots of time talking to her about her experiences. So I said, well, we saw this stuff in the house, which we saw orbs inside the house. And we even have a camera in our bedroom because the orbs fly through the bedroom all the time. Portal, everything. So you can see them going in and out of the wall. Okay, so I said, well, let's put some outside. I says, what some of these dreams, things you're telling me about, I think they're aliens or innate non-human intelligences. So we put the cameras outside and boom, the cameras have taken over her life. So I'll let her tell about them.
Addicted to them. I am. They interact with me. It's amazing. It's like a friendship or a family. if I feel a certain way and I need cheering up, they show up. There's more of them that show up and do little things in front of the camera. If I get nervous, they back off. They can feel my emotion. That was surprising to me.
So in our evidence online, I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, so in our evidence online, you can see some of the stuff she's found. She sits up at night while I'm asleep digging through these videos. So she sees these flashes in the sky on these security cameras. So that she'll stop and look at the individual frames that are where these flashes are, and she finds craft. Real honest to goodness craft high in the sky. So it's a flash, which I think is a portal, then there's a craft, then there's a flash, and it's gone. Okay.
We've had 3 different crafts show up multiple different times, different nights, different angles of them. It's amazing.
So we saw a craft sitting like this.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, we saw the craft sitting like that, but just enough like this you could identify it was the same craft in nearly the same place.
Mm-hmm.
So then we had this beam of light come down on the deck, and there's light shaped like a human stood up in front of the camera, reached out and grabbed it and turned it, and then boom, the light went out and it was gone. And right where it pointed at, we regularly now see this light come down from above the house behind us, and it's like that light is making the roof transparent. And we think we see beings going in and out of the house.
And there's a craft that flies over.
Oh yeah, you see a craft, and in the front yard, we see entities walk to the front of the house all the time. And so I just want to point out to people, we're making all this evidence public.
Right.
So on our Facebook profiles and the photos, you will see photo and video evidence and recorded voice, etc., of everything we're telling people.
You know, I've seen a lot of that on Facebook, LaLa. I'm impressed with all that you put out on Facebook. And you know what, you guys, I think it's fantastic. And maybe, Bob, you can get into the idea. Perhaps it was LaLa's suggestion. I don't know. But you know, everybody who researches, whether it's cryptids, ufology, you've actually got a research center set in your yard. I mean, you've set up your yard to just do the research right from the comforts of home. Is that correct?
Wow.
It is. So I have this room we are surrounded by equipment. And in my basement is tables full of equipment. We have low light level cameras, astronomical cameras, very high end digital DSLRs, 35 millimeter DSLR, just really high end stuff. And we're doing everything we can to record this. And it's never enough because she's always wanting more. And tell you the truth, every time we try something new, we get something new. I got one of these Psionics low light level cameras, and I just pointed it up to the sky after she wished they would show. And I saw craft like they see at CE5 events zigging around. And then the clearest possible triangle you've ever heard about flew right over our house.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Why do you think that they are attracted to you both?
I think we have a job to do for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree. But also, and I'm not, just my opinion, and I don't know 100%, but I'm O negative. I know for a fact I have an implant in my left femur leg area. And I've always been I feel monitored. I don't know, it's because I'm different. I mean, there's other people like me, but
Sure.
There's something different about, and I think they put us together to get more information because he has an aspect that he brings to it and I have a totally different, but together we can create a lot of good things and bring it to the public.
I might be the trained and educated scientist, but her curiosity and native intelligence are really high. So it's good working with her. So let me just give you an experiment we are about to take on. Jimmy Blanchett has aimed radio signals at the sky, sent out waveforms, and had craft respond like a CE5 invocation. Mm-hmm. So I got an idea. I says, Jimmy and I are both radio amateurs, so we can send these stuff out, but she can interact with them. So what does that tell you? We can send stuff and they can respond. That's two-way communication. So I have a machine learning computer over here on the ground, and we're going to try to teach it to interpret what they do on the sky, to translate what they're saying as a response to what we're saying. And then we're going to build this dictionary and have two-way communication, I hope.
You know, Bob, in trying to build this channel too, we're dabbling now in ufology and UFOs, aliens. For those people listening and watching in our chat room that perhaps do not know what CE5 is, could you walk them through that a little bit just to clarify for them?
I'm very sorry for making that assumption. And
That's
using
okay.
the
Well,
so,
it's quite all right.
J. Allen Hynek was the leader of Project Blue Book. And while he was doing UFO investigations for the Air Force, he regularly ran into people that had encountered entities and craft. So looking up in the sky and seeing a light or a craft is CE1, close encounter of the first kind. Seeing a craft on the ground landing, that's close encounter of the second kind. Seeing a craft on the ground or nearby with an alien entity involved, that's the close encounters of the fourth kind. Being abducted by an alien is a CE4, close encounter of the fourth time. And finally, Stephen Greer made up one where he began using mental processes to invoke a contact. And so he coined the term CE5, which is human initiated contact. And that's close encounter of the fifth kind.
Wow.
You know, how does one go about initiating contact? You know, if you talk, it's just something that has me perplexed. You know, I mean, even if you're real briefly looking for cryptids trying to initiate contact, a lot of people do the gifting. A lot of people go out and just walk and be one with Mother Nature. But something that's in literally in the galaxies and trying to initiate these contacts, how does one start that or go about that?
Okay, so I do baby steps with them, but I would look up at the stars and I'd say, I know you're there, and I know you know I know. So in your own way. And so some stars would move, but they'd look like stars. And over the months, I'd say, okay, can you come a little closer? And they'd come a little closer to the point where now they're flying in different forms, right in front of the camera and moving the camera. So I think if you just are upfront and kind and say, you know, it doesn't have to be a spiritual, magical reason. It could be like, I'm interested in watching you. I'm interested in videoing this. If you're upfront, they will come. They want to be seen and heard.
We have seen an absolutely crystal clear craft. Yep. And the camera on our pointing to our front yard, that's in our evidence, and it could not have been a quarter mile away. It's just crystal clear, completely resolved. It's just amazing. So they just coming closer and closer, and we think eventually they'll come in and have a cup of coffee.
You have to be patient, though. Sometimes it happens right away. Sometimes it takes a little while. It's very much on their terms. But they were pretty quick with us.
Yeah. So according to Grant Cameron and several others in his orbology group that he put together, this is the fastest they've ever seen anybody go from zero to what the people who've been doing it for 20 years are doing.
Yeah. Quick question. It sounds like the ones that you guys are in contact with are friendly. Have you encountered any that are on the negative side?
We believe we have evidence of the first negative entity inside our home, and we saged and Palo Santos and salt and did everything else we could because these were as dark as night and in our basement.
Wow.
Yeah, and I woke up with one night we got video of, what was it? Looked like a gray, kind of. It had a face and a body, and it walked right up to the camera, and we have that posted. And that night later on, I guess we both went to bed and slept a little longer than usual, and I woke up with a triangle-shaped bruise on my arm. Wow. And we have pictures of that, but we have video of an orb going into it. And I don't know if that was good or bad. I didn't feel anything bad, but I don't know what they're doing, you know?
Sure.
But I've had an experience before that was definitely negative. And, you know, I explained to him what happened. And he said a lot of women go through this with reptilians. And I kept it to myself for a long, long time because it was embarrassing and I felt crazy.
Sure.
And, but yeah, I woke up, I had a bad dream about it, about them. And I woke up and my legs were closed, but I could feel someone having sex with me. I mean, it was real. Nobody was home. And it scared the crap out of me because it lasted for a few moments, even after I woke up.
Yeah.
And I kept it to myself until I talked to him about it. And he's like, yeah, it's common. People just are scared to talk about it.
And I was telling her about the people I knew, like Nancy Tremaine and others, who have interacted with the reptilians and have had a sexual relationship with them. And it at least in the beginning, it's involuntary. I mean, they're not given a choice that I'm aware of, or she's aware of, or anybody I've talked to is aware of. And then she has other things that she's seen that are hints to me that she is involved in the hybridization program.
Wow.
So you tell her about the barn.
It looked like a barn. I know it was a ship, but they made it seem like a barn. And I woke up. I wake up a lot when they take me. And this wasn't a dream, but it was a vision dream. So they make it seem like a dream. And I looked around next to me because I could only move my head, and it was other women laying on a wooden plank like me. And in between each one of us was this massive, scaly, like buff, tall looking, I guess, reptilian. But I didn't see a face. I saw horned, it was a horned mask. It was very intimidating. And he was holding something in his hand, and I woke up from it. I had a dream they were doing surgery, but with their hands on somewhere on my torso. Wow. And I woke up during that, and they said, don't let her see. And it went to an image of me holding two little boys. And then I woke up.
Wow.
So,
I think she skipped time and she held two of her hybrid children or something like that. So, these stories are pretty common amongst the women who have abducted. This hybridization program, and there's lots of books on research. David Jacobs and others have written research books about it.
Wow.
So you subscribe to the theory that some of these hybridization programs where human women, are implanted with alien embryos.
Yeah, I believe it. It was hard to believe at first because, you're taught that this is weird or wrong or just not happening. But there's a lot of weird things that are really happening. I do believe it, yeah.
So she's begun she's quite the artist. I mean, anybody that's been on our Facebook page has seen the face paintings she does. And so she's quite the artist. So she's begun drawing these scenes. And in one of them, the reptilian is between her legs with an instrument. And I'm pretty sure they were going in through her belly to remove the fetus. Because that's the common element with all the other women who've been through this.
Yeah. Do you feel any pain or anything after?
I never feel pain, and oddly, I never am scared when they're like if I see a craft and while I'm awake, I'm oddly calm, and I call it my alien Xanax because it's very unlike how I am now. Like I am skittish about everything in life, But with them, I don't feel pain, I don't feel emotions, I'm just numb. And then after I see him, I don't remember the rest of the day. It's happened a couple times. So
her boyfriend used to get angry at her when she would run to the local store or whatever, gas, whatever, and going to be gone 15 minutes, was gone, hour plus. She had lots of missing time, and with her friend.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fascinating. We have LaLa Bright and Dr. Bob McGwier on the show, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. A lot of people subscribe to the theory. I personally subscribe that there's an alien race, much like a human race. Now, what's your thoughts on some of these people? In fact, what we're talking about right now, subscribe to the theory that aliens are nothing more than demons with nefarious intentions.
I don't believe that at all.
Me either.
I mean, look, just like humans, there's not great ones and there's wonderful ones. That's just how it is. But they're definitely not demons. I would feel that. A lot of other people, I think fear makes people think it's demons.
But look, if you go to a university, you go to a biology lab, they'll have animals in cages, and they don't care about how they're feeling much. They do what they need to do and go on. I mean, these things might be a million years beyond us, and we look like the rat that's in the cage. And they're sometimes they harm women, sometimes they harm men, sometimes they don't. There are different agendas. I think there's multiple different entities that are reported to be involved, and I just don't think we know all their agendas. I think the government knows some agendas, but is not telling us.
Yeah. I have a friend that is into the CE5 and the UFO, and she believes they come back here because we are destroying the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that she feels like they're here to more so help us, you know, because we're the ones that are, you know, destroying it.
Well, I think some are helping us, and I think some hate us, or don't, or just need us for some reason.
I think the ones that we consider bad, I think they're testing us, and we're like the lab rats. So it feels bad, but I think maybe, I know that there's other reasons that they're doing it. I think to make things better. Hopefully, I know there's some that aren't, but I think they test for other things.
So let me, as a scientist, I want to point out one thing.
Yes.
Why are almost all of these entities that come see us in humanoid form? Totally different evolutionary strains, and they come up with 2 legs, 2 arms, and eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. So if I were sitting back thinking, how could this happen? I could see this billion-year-old race of experimenters who've put these various humanoid types of entities on a bunch of different planets, and just they're watching, seeing how it goes.
Wow.
They're experimenting with our form.
Wow.
You know, we talk about like alien abduction and being taken up in craft. And I get that. I believe in all these things. I believe in your concepts, both of you, actually. And I had another theory I was thinking, mulling over. You know, there are aliens walking. I believe that there are aliens walking amongst us versus being abducted for experimentation or learning more about the human race. Do you think that they actually walk amongst us and gathering information to take back with them?
I know.
I mean, she just told you that she was in an instance where they projected a screen memory, that she was in a barn when she was probably on a craft in a lab. Okay. So if they can do that, since they can control what we see, they can control what they look like to us.
Agree.
I even wonder if the hybrids that they're making that are walking around, most of them don't realize they are, but maybe they're monitored because they're getting data for them to bring back. That would be easier to make a hybrid, you know?
You mentioned that you have something in your leg. Can you tell us that, how you came to realize, or do you remember the incidents or anything?
It was by accident. I used to fly a lot back and forth to Florida to be with a friend, and I would always, first I didn't set it off, and then I started to always set it off. And I didn't think nothing of it, but then after a few years, I finally said, can I see what this is? Because I'm always setting the metal detector off. And they showed me, and it was in my left upper leg, and it was about the size of a piece of rice. There's no scars there. I never fell there. I never had surgery there. It shouldn't be there. It never used to be there. And we flew, and it's still there.
So we went to San Francisco to UFO Con, and she says, you go ahead of me and turn around and look back at the monitor. So she went through and she set it off, and right there over her leg was the little yellow square on their monitor. I mean, right where she said it would be.
And he did testing on it, and it had high numbers over that spot.
She means I put a trifield meter to it, and it's emitting RF radiation. It's emitting a radio signal, and on occasionally she has headaches, and I found a radio emitter right here, which bursting radio, and 0.2 milliwatts. Human bodies do not radiate 0.2 milliwatts of RF energy.
Wow. That's amazing.
I'm a weirdo.
Well, no,
We're
you're
all
definitely
different.
not a weirdo. I subscribe to the weird. I subscribe
Yeah.
to the weird. What's weird to others is not weird to us. Trust me.
Right.
You're in the right place here, LaLa and Bob. And
Mhm.
I had a question. I guess this is more of a scientific question. We all hear about implants, a la LaLa, right? Now, what does science have to say about this? You go to the doctor, and let's say you're getting a physical, they do an X-ray, and they see some foreign object in your body. Have these things been removed, sent to laboratories, investigated? That's the thing that I can't fathom. I believe it exists, but I can't believe that this is not more of a mainstream, newsworthy subject to discuss because it's just not spoken about.
Dr. Roger Lear is something anybody can go on YouTube and look up. Dr. Roger Lear. He took out a bunch of them and they sent them off for analysis, and they're weird. These things are weird, and they decay quickly once you remove them from the human body.
Mm.
Who was
Wow.
it? Whitley Strieber.
Whitley Strieber.
He tried to get one out with a doctor, and every time the doctor tried to get it out, it would move. These things move. It's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah.
Wow. And it's just basically them keeping tabs on you. That's what it sounds like to me.
And they have a defense mechanism, so it's an intelligent agent.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
that does make makes perfect sense to me. That I can imagine I remove an alien object, and then it has a defense mechanism, and it goes away. So in other words, we can't study it, we can't delve into it,
Mhm.
and that does make sense to me. When we talk about alien life, and let's in a general talk, the paranormal, UFO, cryptids. I'm a believer that everything comes full circle, and I think everything's connected. Now, I like your thoughts on that. Because I truly believe in all this.
Me too.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they're all linked. Since they're easy to talk to for me, you have to go about a different way. I think they're all linked together. I don't know if they're from different places, the cryptids and the paranormal. Someone asked me a good question. Do I ever read dead aliens, like the spirit of them? And I never thought about that. That's interesting. I just assumed they were a different, they never will be ghosts because they're a different type of being.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everything's connected. Our friend Debs, she believes that we're all actually one thing, having separate learning lessons.
Yeah.
So I believe now that there's quite a bit of evidence, mathematical proofs, mathematical objects by Donald Hoffman and others that show that that universal consciousness is the foundation for our entire existence and universe. And he claims, and I believe him, that he's going to be able to get to the place where he can derive our space-time, quantum mechanics, and general relativity from his consciousness models. So that means down here at the bottom is consciousness, and everything you're talking about, you're interacting with another consciousness. And as Deb's, and one of the things that Hoffman does, this is really, really awesome. This gigantic collection of conscious agents is like nearly infinity of them. And something gathers together a group of them and focuses it and gives it a focused piece, another consciousness. And that's one of us. So we have a limited view of what the whole consciousness is, and we are constantly being projected our reality from that consciousness. And since it's a little tiny piece, this projection, there's like a movie screen or a virtual reality thing, and what our consciousness is being projected into it. And Donald Hoffman also proved 4 years before this theory that we are unable to see reality with our senses. We, each and every one of us, our senses connected to our brain, connected to our consciousness, is interpreting what our senses see in an illusion that optimizes our ability to survive. It's an optimization function on survival. It's not a perception of what is actual reality. So the bottom line, we all live in the matrix.
In other words, we could probably take our collective consciousness and we could probably project it into the universe and have our own personal contact.
We can have and people do that. That's what CE5 is we're taking our consciousness, projecting it into the universe, and asking them to show up.
Wow.
The people are loving this show. I can tell by all the comments. Awesome show, Dr. Bob McGwier and LaLa Bright. Join us on Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. It's a lot to unpack in this show. Thanks so much for joining us.
And I'm not gonna lie. I and I've told Rob this before. Aliens scare me. Give me a dog man any day. An alien scares me, and I guess it's that of the unknown. That type of thing. And
she's the opposite. She doesn't want to see a dog man and talks to aliens all the time.
Dog man scares me the most out of anything.
It's just to wrap my head around, like you being comfortable with that just blows me away, because that's my big fear.
I think the reason the aliens make me comfortable is so that I'll get the message, because if they didn't, I would run. It's overwhelming. Seeing a craft is overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Seeing a being appear out of nowhere is overwhelming. They want, they're doing this for a reason, and it's not an emotional reason.
I can tell you this: the first time she took a picture, took one of these frames, these videos of a flash, a craft, and a flash. I mean, these craft. Go look at our evidence. These are craft in outer space. Okay, yeah. So I just was like, wow. She says, Bob, I think I got a craft. And I went, okay, let me see. And I lost it. I was just like, yippee, 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 yay. I was so happy. And she was like, are you okay? I went, yeah, this is the greatest thing ever. We're getting craft in front of our security cameras.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. You guys, this show is blown by. I got to go to our 5-minute break now to satisfy our advertisers. We'll be back in 5 minutes with Dr. Bob McGwier and LaLa Bright. Fantastic show. Fantastic show. I appreciate you guys. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome back to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, Science Bob, Bob McGwier, LaLa Bright. Fantastic show. Thank you to Dave Scott, Rocky, and Susie B for your fantastic super chats. It is appreciated, and thank you for the support of the show. Don't forget, Mondays is Texas Front Porch at 7:30 in the East. Tuesdays, Van Buren Variety. It's 8 o'clock in the East. Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East Tuesdays. Jason McLean does something called Mysterious Library on Untold Radio AM. Please go check him out. Following up on Wednesday at 9 in the East is Jason McLean Questions Everything. That comes on at 9 o'clock in the East. Thursday, right back here, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight, the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast. Subscribe to them. 9 in the East. If you need some woo with the booze, well, we mix it up on Fridays. The Blondes, the Booze, and the Woos Friday nights. Tex is doing something new with Danielle Diva. It's on Saturdays, 3 in the East. Infamous Minds. It's about true crime and serial killers. Pretty cool show. Go check out Show to Love for Tex on Saturday. Speaking of Saturdays, our lovely Jessica Jones, Spaced Out Radio, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the East, followed by Danielle Diva. She follows Jessica at 11 in the East on Spaced Out Radio. Speaking of Spaced Out Radio, Dave Scott's second annual fan party taking place in Las Vegas, Nevada. At the what's the hotel? Jesus, I just forgot the name of the hotel. And I say it every day when I do the show. Blah, 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 blah. Well, Science Bob, you know what it is. You're gonna have to tell that when I come back up. I just threw a mind fart there. I'm sorry about that. But please subscribe to us. Check us all out on our YouTube pages for all our schedules, upcoming activities. Thanks, Science Bob, for that awesome super chat. I appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm gonna bring everybody up.
Hey,
Bob, man, I forgot. Where's the hotel? I can't.
Golden Nugget.
Yes, thank you. I say it like every time I do a show, and I forgot. I'm embarrassed right now. Sorry, Dave, if you're still out listening.
Well, I threw it up there when you did it. Lily had said it, so I put that up there in the chat.
Yes, thank you, LaLa, for that super chat as well. I'm sorry, Dave, but yes, the Golden Nugget Hotel. There'd be a lot of cool people down there, including Science Bob, LaLa, myself.
Yes.
Jesse
Well,
Jones.
We're going out looking at the sky with a bunch of people who every time they go out, they get a crowd. Her and Melinda Leslie and Lori and Fenton and et cetera. It's going to be great.
Wow.
Oh, fantastic time. Dave puts on a good show. Nice itineraries can be set up. Last year was a blast. I missed it because something was going on. So I'm really geeked for this upcoming event. I'm geeked about this show, you guys. This is a fantastic show. Little something different provided by the show because we're mostly cryptids during the day. But man, fantastic. I'm learning. I learned so much from you, Science Bob, and you, LaLa, because you can see Science Bob too. You do a monthly thing, Science Bob and Friends on Space Out Radio, which I always tune into because you are a wealth of knowledge and I learn every day. I do appreciate you and coming on and spending your time as well as you, LaLa. Thank you so much.
Well, we're glad to be here. I know she's been really excited, and she's wanted to do this for a while. But I want to point out in our video and photo evidence, you will see kind of weird looking creatures that are in their color images. They're very colorful rainbow images, and in the black and white images, these things that look like they're swimming. People call them skyfish, and they're claimed to be a cryptid. So we're definitely getting things that are like cryptids. We've not seen on any of our images Bigfoot or Dogman or whatever, but we've seen things that people are calling cryptids.
Wow, interesting.
Speaking, yeah, there's very interesting. And, going back to cryptids, you, LaLa and Bob, a lot of people suggest that maybe Bigfoot is maybe an alien. I mean, what's your thoughts on that real quick? Well, because I know you guys are starting to delve into that a lot more. I know, Bob, you've asked me about certain groups I belong to follow. What's your thoughts really quick?
I think they're like an interdimensional being, kind of. I know a lot of people that have seen them also saw alien orb lights over them. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely a connection.
So, and LaLa are in a group with Simeon Hine, who's a remote viewing teacher, and we are definitely getting our act together to do a remote viewing of an area that has Bigfoots in it. Now, I've talked to a bunch of people that we know together and I know separately that are doing Bigfoot, and David Politis has on his show. And it's all these hints that the following are true, that they come through portals. They can move long distances and come back out portals. So when David Politis has a missing person and it's a 2 to 3 year old child and they suddenly go through freezing temperatures 20 kilometers away, it's like something took them into a portal and transported them and put them down. Then there are the other Bigfoot people that find evidence which is extremely suggestive, like only one side of the body's footprints are on the ground. You hit there and you don't walk evenly on one leg. Right. So it's like half their body and one leg is through the portal and the other half their body and the other leg is outside the portal. And so they're walking and their footprint over there is over there. The footprint over here is over here. So I'm just trying to go through the logic of how these things could be done in concert with thinking they're coming through portals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I believe they do come through portals myself. I subscribe to that. And I also, as you both are well aware of, it seems like I take reports and have people on the show wherever it's so fascinating that people will see orbs in the woods, or might see a UFO hovering about the skies. And then there's all of a sudden there's a Bigfoot report, a Bigfoot sighting. So I think there is a connection. And reverting back to earlier, that's why I do believe everything in this world is connected.
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we believe that.
Thank you, Anella. Thank you for that super chat.
Me myself, I've been going to the land between the lakes, and and there's a lot of everything from ghost, cryptid, all kinds of UFO type stuff all out there. And I did witness, along with other people, some kind of creatures peeking from behind trees. But after that, throughout the whole evening, we seen orbs of different sizes, different colors, and I can't explain it.
Did you ever see orange orbs before?
Well, let me tell you what I saw at the land between the lakes. It was an orangish, reddish. It was about the size of a beach ball. One of the blow up beach balls kids have.
Yeah.
It was about that size, and that's what I saw that evening.
I've seen it too.
I think it's hiding the craft.
I do. It was over my parents' house, and it was probably 30 feet from the roof. And one at a time they appeared, and there was 5 of them, the same color, same size. And they went to, so it was 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and they went to a V.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was helping me take out the trash, and he was into that stuff. So I said, "Do you see that?" And he looked up at him, and real robotically he said no. And then he didn't even look at me. He turned around and went into the house, never came out. And that wasn't like him. He would have been into it. And I looked back up at him, and one by one they went away. And I don't remember the rest of the night.
Mm-hmm.
It was very weird.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And when I was at Chris Bledsoe's, we saw 2 40-foot orange orbs over his house.
Wow.
40
And
foot.
Ryan Bledsoe, you can go on Twitter and find the video Ryan took of one of those orbs.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I can't explain what I saw, you know. I can't tell you if it was a cryptid. I can't tell you if it was an alien. I can't tell you if it was a ghost type orb, you know. I have no idea. It was odd. And that's what honestly really where Brandy and I we turned woo.
You know,
There's one picture in particular I want to point out. People go to our evidence and look. She's begun telling them they can come see us.
Mm-hmm.
So she was outside with my DSLR and took a picture, and she had the flash on. But you look at the picture, and there's smoke in the picture. Well, it was 68 degrees. It was clear and no low humidity. It wasn't fog. We don't smoke. So the smoke was something else. And we put it up, and it looked to me like there was a face in it. But some guy on Twitter grabbed it and altered the colors, and there is a clear-cut gray alien head inside that smoke. And it's clear as day, and people can go look. And that was a few feet in front of us. So they are accepting her invitation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we hear the stories about, I just heard now the 40-foot orb, and we've heard about the triangle craft, perhaps as long as a football field hovering. Yet, it's not a lot of reports on these. And my question is this: are certain individuals allowed to see these things, whatever it is? Especially, I'm trying to picture a 40-foot orb or craft hovering in the sky. I'm surprised that there's not more and more reports on these things, or am I getting disinformation with this? Because it seems like this would just be an ongoing thing where it would have to be reported. So I'm asking, is it certain people that see a UFO or see an orb, or even for that matter, a Bigfoot? Because it seems to me with these immense sizes of these things, it seems like there'd be way more news breaking media generated information.
Well, tell me about your giant craft in the cloud.
yeah. So what I've learned is that every single being we've come across is a master at camouflage, which it's once you pick it up, you can watch for it. It's really interesting. But the one time I saw a craft in the sky, I saw, yes, I think certain people do see it and certain people don't.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one time where I was driving with my friend at night, and a government helicopter flew over and shined a spotlight into this huge cloud. And when they did that, I saw the underbelly of a craft that was probably as big as a football field.
Wow.
It was amazing. I mean, it had these looked like winding pipes together underneath, but the pipes were as wide as the body of the helicopter. I mean, it was huge. And that's when I found out that a lot of the clouds, I don't think are really clouds. I think they're just a camouflage. But we wouldn't have seen that if it weren't for the light being shown.
Sure.
But I think a lot of times, if you're not paying attention, they pick certain people that see more to see them, and some that aren't ready, they don't get to see them yet, I think.
But,
just to not scare them, you know?
but then tell them how it ended.
Well, I don't remember anything. I don't remember driving home.
Total missing time.
Nothing.
Both of them.
Yeah,
His friend no longer remembers it. Her memory faded.
Yep.
Wow.
And again, we go back to the missing time, and I believe that if there's missing time, there was an alien or an association with the UFO abduction, which brings me back to what you mentioned earlier, Bob, about regressive therapy and the quantum therapy. For those, I was thinking about doing that. About now, when you get back into that, does that really? Can you walk me through that a little bit? Because I'm thinking about having it done to open up things that I think I've seen but don't remember, or missing time. What is that? Is that pseudoscience, or is that something that's actual you can relate on or rely on for information?
Well, I had a quantum healing session with Deb Shakti.
Mhm.
And if any of you have seen Alien Answers by John Yost,
He was on my show, actually. Yes.
yeah, she is one of the stars in it, and she's the person that helped John Yost recover his memories. So she's hypnotized both of us, and I'm going to tell you, in my experience, it was kind of strange. So it's broken into 3 pieces, and her technique is let you go where you want to go to receive the message you should be receiving. Okay, so it's not go back and remember this, it's more let it flow. So the first 2/3 of it, I saw a past life. I saw an event that had a huge impact on my life. And it was like I was the person who I sat in Neil Armstrong's chair and went to the moon. And it was like I was him. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, this is great. I wouldn't have thought of this, but I don't think I'm hypnotized. I think I'm actually awake and just making this up, but it felt a little weird. Then the third part, she lets you talk to your higher consciousness, all the universal consciousness that flows through you, so that you can figure out what the heck is going on and what you're supposed to do. And that's when I faded into the background and the light squeezed into a little tunnel, and all I was doing was hearing what was going on. And it was amazing. She is the gentlest, kindest, sweetest human being you can possibly imagine. And she hypnotized both of us, and it was quite successful. Now, if what you're wanting is to remember specific instances, somebody like Yvonne Smith is like the best. She takes you right back to there, and it does it. And then, just so your audience is aware, we are friends with Bob Luca, who was Betty Andreasen Luca's husband, and 5 books have been written about her experiences by Raymond Fowler. And Bob, for the last several years, having been trained by the hypnotist, would put her trigger her hypnosis, and he did all these details about her experiences, and they're in the books. So you can get really detailed stuff if you have a talented hypnotist, and you listen to the transcripts or read them, and you can tell the hypnotist is being exceedingly careful not to lead them or suggest things. They just tell you, go there and tell me what you see. Go there and tell me what you see. I don't have a suggestion, just tell me what you see. And then they'll stop it and say, remember this point, we're going to come back later. And it's always seamless.
Wow.
It always seamlessly come back to the same place. So it is definitely a memory. And I think what the people that are into this stuff call the Akashic record they're reading. So you got anything to add?
I agree with.
Okay, all right. I went on too long. I'm sorry.
No, Bob, you're fine. I'm enjoying this. So is Krista and our audience. I can tell. I want to revert back to something regarding, maybe LaLa, you can answer this. Perhaps Bob as well, I'm sure. Astral projection. Can that allow us to get into the universe and explore the things that we're all wondering about, these mysteries? I know Bob's laughing over there.
Oh my goodness. I asked her to do a reading, and I wanted to know some stuff. And all of a sudden, she just, boom, she's astral projecting into the universe. And I can tell. And she's amazing because she can be here and there simultaneously. She's kind of unique. So she was out there, and she reads the universal consciousness and talk about this unbelievable rapturous love that was all around her and feeling. And then it was time to go back, but she wanted to take a little detour. So she astral projected over to the pyramids and went down to whatever was hidden underneath. And then I'll let her tell what happened.
Something shoved me back on my bed and it scared the crap out of me. And I haven't done it since, honestly. I suggest people really research protection and how to do it before you do it, because it's very real, and sometimes you go places beings don't want you to go.
So let me state this before I tell you what
That's
happened.
just my opinion.
Yeah. Let me say this before I tell you what happened. So I've interacted with her a lot before then, and she is not really versed in UFO lore. She just doesn't know it. She never read it. She never been into it. She's talked to people about their spirits. She didn't even know she was talking to entities, aliens. So out of her mouth about this thing that shoves her on the bed comes the word Anunnaki. She'd never heard that word before then. Anunnaki, but that was the way the old Sumerians pronounced Anunnaki. Anunnaki. Okay, she said Anunnaki, and I went immediately. She is talking like an old Sumerian.
Yes.
And we went to the thing we were out today. It's Anunnaki. She'd never heard of an Anunnaki before. And then she says, you know what? One of these things is my guardian.
Wow.
It's so wild.
Which people have mixed feelings on with that.
Yeah.
People are really scared of them. So I don't know much about them, so I can't really say.
We were on Dave's show and we described that she sees this hooded being. And off air, Dave said, you know, if they're a hooded being and tall like that, it's an Anunnaki. And I went, I didn't know this. She didn't either. I mean, Dave told us something we didn't know.
Well, that's amazing. And, you know, LaLa, I normally don't like to talk about myself on my own show, right? It's about the guests, but since I have you here, I got an experience I want you to listen to, LaLa, and tell me what this was. I was sitting in a section of my room in a chair, and I'm fully awake, and I can't remember exactly what I was doing, to be honest, but I was thinking about, I was trying to project myself somewhere else. I do remember that. Then I remember in my chair, and I literally get out of my chair, and the television was on as well, and I start crawling down a hallway, and I can see my physical, well, I don't know if it was a physical body, it was a dimension, I think. I seen myself from the chair walking down a hallway, and I'm crawling on all fours. And LaLa, Bob, everyone listening, then I turn back over my head, and I see myself still in my chair sitting there, and I see the television, yet I know that I'm on the floor crawling. Mm-hmm. And it just totally blew my mind. I don't know what that was. Is that a minimal? I don't think it was astral projecting, excuse me. I think I was in my home, but I've been befuddled by this. I've told certain people, and they have different ideas about it, maybe sleep paralysis or something. What's your take on that? Did I experience an out of body experience?
I think that. Sorry.
It's okay.
I think it was a form of it, because you can be in your house and still do it, and also your higher self also be in your house. It doesn't always have to be in another dimension or place in the world. I don't know why you're crawling. That's kind of eerie.
No, but I mean, it's kind of, yeah. I mean, it's just, you know, it's, yeah. I was crawling. I mean, that's just that's what it was.
What was your feeling? Was it good or?
I felt neutral. I mean, there was nothing evil. There's nothing positive. In fact, it was a little creepy to see myself sitting there in a chair. Yet I know I'm on the floor,
right?
But I saw myself. So I think I was dreaming. Someone suggested sleep paralysis. So that's been the haunt. I don't want to use the word haunted. It's too extreme, but so maybe that was the start of something.
Okay. So
I'm really interested in this.
I have a recommendation.
Yeah.
Dave Scott has been introduced to lots of things, including 12-foot tall aliens by Samantha Mowat.
Yeah.
Samantha Mowat, in a conversation with Dave and I, recommended a book on astral projection.
Okay.
And in the astral projection, it talks about the different levels you can go. You were on the first level, according to that book. You are half out You are halfway to the first level, but still here.
Wow.
Read, I can't remember the name of the book, but Samantha Moore recommended it. I have the book. I will get the name of it and send you the name of it. And what you described is described really carefully in that book. Samantha Moore recommended to me.
Well, please send that on over to me because I'll definitely go get that.
If you want later, later on after the show, send me a picture where your eyes are well lit, and I'll try to see what I can find.
Oh, fabulous! I'll send a picture of my eyes.
Yeah,
and
clear.
Like with this by a window for sunlight hitting it. Yeah.
Yeah, or outside or something. Okay.
Yeah.
In daylight.
But a clear close of your eyes selfie.
No glasses.
No glasses.
Okay. There's a few questions here. We're getting close. We got about 10, 12 minutes left. There's a couple questions I like the audience have for you folks. Again, fantastic show. And I've got Larry. LaLa, you're on Facebook.
It's LaLa Bright, BRIGHT. And all the videos and pictures are public.
Yeah, there's a public album.
Yep.
Okay, and Nella Gottfried for LaLa. I was gifted since birth, but had an event with something when I was 13 and also missing time. Trying to figure it out. Any suggestions?
If she wants to find me on Facebook and message me her picture, and when I can, I'll try to see. Well, I'll see it, and I'll let her know what I feel.
But clearly identify she's the Gottfried that was on your show that wanted to know about her experience.
Okay. Susie B is asking, is there an option to not consent to being part of the hybrid program?
I don't know. I mean, some people say you can say certain things about cutting cords of a contract that you're in, but you have to. So I would look into it. We're all in contracts supposedly, but a lot of people aren't aware of what's going on, so we kind of have to suffer through some things. But I would look into soul contracts.
One of our advisors says we signed the soul contract to come here and have these experiences.
I want to smack myself for doing that.
And Gene Hudson, great friend of the show. What is the connection with aliens, forest people, and Dogman?
They're all conscious entities and showing themselves differently. I mean, what would you say?
Yeah, they're all dimensional beings, and I think I don't know the proper way to explain it, but I do think they all are all linked. I think they can all travel through, like the wormholes and portals. I think they can be visible or invisible. So there's got to be a link to it. I just don't know.
One of the kookiest things we saw was when Debs was doing my regression. We didn't know it. So I was doing my regression, and the disabled motion trigger turned off camera on the back deck turned on and recorded. And you remember Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie Terminator, where the invisible alien, we saw the invisible alien walking across my deck. It's shimmering. You could see it.
It moved the camera.
It moved the camera. Yeah.
But you know what? Those are good questions that I can ask my energy being friends that I talk to every night, because I do yes or no questions. And for yes, they all light up the sky, and for no, they don't do anything. I can do that.
You should just watch when these things are flying around, and she says, "Hey, if you guys are here and listening to me, will you all go to the right?" And they'll all go to the right. Will you go left? They'll all go to the left. Will you go up? They'll all go up. Will you go down? They'll all go down. And then she knows she's in contact, and she starts asking yes/no questions.
Wow.
You know, I'm going to have you guys back on because I have so many questions, especially about the afterlife, LaLa, and such. In summation of today's show, I know you touched on it a little bit earlier for those joining later.
We would gladly come back.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. In summation, really quick for you from Bob and LaLa, the purpose behind the missing time, the alien abduction, what do you think these otherworldly beings, what their intention is?
I think in my case, given the things that followed my missing time, is I'm being instructed. You don't learn how to read by miracles, They had me up there for a while and taught me how to read and then put me back. And you don't all of a sudden become a 10-year-old genius overnight. They put all that stuff in my head. And so I have, throughout my adult life, since I became a technical person, had these thoughts pop into my head that were inventions. And I started 2 companies, Hawkeye 360 and Federated Wireless, based on ideas that one day popped into my head. I think they're downloads. So I think I get those, and in her missing time experiences, I mean, she's already seen some of the weird stuff, the hybridization stuff. I think that's when they work with us or on us.
Wow.
What happens during missing time? Why do they do it?
Oh, sorry. What happens during missing time? Why do they do it? That was a question. I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Just your final thoughts on why do you think there's alien abduction? Why there's missing time? Is your personal belief behind all this phenomenon?
I think they're testing the human race. I think they're guiding us and helping us. I think they always have. And I don't know. I keep feeling like this is for a greater cause. I just don't know what yet. But I think one day we might.
I think it's a gigantic experiment, and we are the experimental specimens.
I agree with both of you on that. And Krista, you have any final thoughts?
No, I do have one quick question. And Gene asked the question, and I was actually running through my head earlier. What do you guys think of the new David Pilatus UFO show? You know, with the cube, and have you experienced a cube or type?
I haven't. I read about a little bit of it. I think it's interesting. It has something to do with Saturn worshiping, right? And like a black sun. I think it's a big thing to do that's hidden in our world. I think a lot of people, higher ups, worship cubes, and because there's symbolism all over the world with cubes.
I mean, the entirety of the Islamic Muslim religion centers on the Kaaba, which is the cube in the center of the major square in Riyadh.
Wow.
I mean Mecca. Sorry, Mecca. Don't want to offend anybody. The cube is the center of the Muslim religion. It's the holiest place in the world to them. It's the center of Mecca.
Wow.
So the cube is everywhere, all over the place.
What do you think about it?
What's that?
What do you think about it?
The cube. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm totally, you know, you were in part of David Pilatus' show, he was showing where a guy entered it and he had seen elk in it, you know, and then he got in it and he could see around, like he could see, you know, what was around there. It was like a clear cube. So I don't know. I'm just totally
it is not my place to tell, but Big Michigan Rob and I have a mutual friend who is in a Bigfoot group, and they have seen a cube that 2 guys went into. Looks like a portal. Went into it. They disappeared, backed out, and as soon as they backed out, the thing disappeared. So this stuff is being seen all over the place. It's not my story to tell, so I'm not going to tell it.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a fantastic story. And it's not a story, it's actually happened. I've seen a lot of things on that, including videos, which is outstanding. Speaking of outstanding, this is a fabulous show. Bob and LaLa. Again, I got so much to go over. We'll have you back a couple months, maybe after Vegas. I don't know. I do want to mention and thank you, Dave Scott, Rocky, Susie B, LaLa, Science Bob, and Anella for your awesome super chats. This was a fantastic show. Before we go, though, LaLa, where can people get in touch with you if they want to dive into some of these interesting subjects that you have going on?
I'm on Facebook, LaLa Bright, and I'm on Twitter, LaLa Bright 59. So one of those.
Yes. Science Bob, what about you?
I'm Bob McGwier on Facebook, and Bob McGwier _N4HY, which is my amateur radio call sign on Twitter.
Awesome. I do have to tell you real quick, you know, like, and I even said that, you know, UFO alien, that I'm scared of them. But you honestly, just after this show, like, how calm you are, it's not such a bad thing.
No, good.
Well,
Yeah.
we're not having bad experiences. We welcome it.
Yeah.
We're having fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. And always say, everybody can do this. Always say, I only allow energies that have good, loving intentions for me to be around. Anything else is not allowed. And say, I want to learn, but let's have fun too, because they want to have fun also. They're like us in some ways.
But you can protect yourself by constantly going through this refrain. Nothing come near me except that which loves me and wants to help me, wants to heal me, whatever.
Or whatever isn't good that's hidden, let it show itself so you can take care of it.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
absolutely. Well, thank you both.
Yeah, those are great parting words for people out there that do have this fear. And certainly everybody has a fear of the unknown, but there's a purpose behind it, I do believe. And I think that Bob and LaLa presented that nicely here today. So with that being said, thanks everybody listening now, listening later. Appreciate the super chats. I certainly appreciate LaLa and Bob taking time out of their busy schedule. Got to have you back. Tremendous. The fans, the audience, they loved it. I love you guys. And until next time, for Krista, for LaLa, and for Bob, we are out.
See ya.